Welcome back to our morning coffee talk series. This is episode 5, casual chats over a morning brew. Let me get my coffee going and we'll get discussing. I'm actually kind of excited this morning. Mainly because this morning the discussion is going to be driven off of a viewer suggestion. But first, let's get started on something that actually needs to start our day. Coffee. I don't think we've actually talked about this. What is your favorite coffee? For me, my drink of choice is always an iced Americano. But more specifically, I think the interesting conversation would be around what's your favorite coffee brand? I think if I'm traveling for chain coffee, I really like Peet's. Peet's coffee is delicious. Tighten that up. Perfect. And then put the water in the top. You find me in Denver, Colorado this weekend, where I'm not even going to do the Fahrenheit conversion, but it's -6 outside. It's -6 C, just for the record. I do all my temperatures in Celsius because it's just, I don't know. I really like Celsius for temperatures. It makes life a lot easier. My lid rolled away. One moment. I had an unfortunate lid accident. I dropped my lid and it rolled away. Well, it's round, so yes, it makes sense, right? All right. We'll do that after. Get It Gary 9847 mentioned a few things for talking points for discussions today. A few things. He mentioned the Tesla We Robot event and what my thoughts were on it, as well as, is AI the future of jobs? Let's go back to that first one, the We Robot event. If you're not familiar, Tesla hosted an event where they showed off their autonomous vehicles, their robotics as far as the actual Optimus robot. And what was really cool about it was really meant for an event for the people that were actually there to be involved in. I think if you saw the live stream, it kind of just seemed very just kind of very jokey, not to be taken seriously. But if you were there, I bet the energy, the way it felt, the way the event was presented was very cool. I was not one that was in attendance. So for me, I saw it through the live streams. Watching the live stream, I will say the technology is cool, or the idea is cool. And moreover, I've reflected back on this for a little bit. I think Tesla does this in every major announcement. Look back to the Cybertruck, look back to the Model 3, look back to the solar panels as far as announcing the solar roof. They kind of do this to their audience, dream, if you will, a reality that's not real yet, but it's not super far out into the future. And I think what we saw at the We Robot event is something that, yes, them as a company should be striving to achieve. And it's kind of what we've all been talking about as far as how freeing it will be to have an autonomous vehicle that you can either own yourself or rent it in a fleet of other vehicles and be able to get transportation around town. It's going to be amazing, especially if you're elderly or mobility challenged. There's no doubt in my mind that this is going to be something that's going to be amazing. When it comes to the Optimus, I mean, I'm not sure about yourself, but we just saw Optimus move from, I believe, 12 degrees of freedom of its hand to now to 22 degrees of freedom, which is amazing. I watched it catch a ball the other day over on X, and it was pretty fascinating to just see how something can actually move like a human can now. That being said, I can see the criticism from the event as far as saying how, oh, you had teleoperators, or it was almost kind of like, think of like puppeteers acting in the background, pulling the strings. Coffee's ready. I could see how that could be an argument, or simply set a point of contention. But, and initially my knee-jerk reaction was judgment, to be fair. As far as why isn't it running off of the software, why are you doing tricks on the back end to kind of make it seem like it's real? Focusing on not pouring my coffee here. And thinking at the same time. Stay. There it goes. Love this little coffee maker. Yeah, so I was critical in probably within the first week, to be totally transparent. And I was one who, for me, where I lost it was the voices. And hearing the teleoperator's voice. Honestly, it would have been so much better if they just had a little voice board where it was just, yes, sure, I'll think about that. How are you today? Stuff like that they could just hit like on a stream deck. That would have been way better. Rather than hearing the nerdy, you know, I mean, let's be honest, we're all engineering nerds. It's not like we have the best. We have faces for radio at the end of the day. Some of us have faces for video. Others of us have voices for radio. Some of us as engineers, we just have minds that are really good at programming. And I think the engineers were on that one maybe a little bit overtasked. And I probably would have said, hey, here's the like pre-assigned buttons that you can just push, and here's the voice recordings. And I think if they would have done that, it would have given the illusion of being more cohesive rather than hearing, I'm making names up, Bob over here, Steve on this one, Susan on this one over here, right? And so that's where the event for me kind of fell apart. Now, looking at the event post the event, in my personal life, I have my two dream Teslas. I have a Cybertruck and I have a Model S. Those are the two Teslas I've always wanted. I've wanted a nice sedan and I've wanted a nice truck. But I know that doesn't qualify for a lot of people. For a lot of people, sometimes they just need a small sedan, especially if you live in a big city or if you drive a lot and commute just small distances in a metropolitan area like Los Angeles or San Francisco or any of these other, like I said, major towns. That's not my story. If that were the case, all of my friends that do live in those areas have been saying how they're so excited about the Cybercab. Again, not my story. I've seen the Cybercab. I was at the Los Angeles Auto Show last week, and getting to see it in person, it's a nice vehicle. It's going to be a great ride. I'm going to take it when I travel because I would much rather get in that vehicle than some random Uber and have the Uber driver that does all of the things that we complain about, whether they're a bad driver, they talk a lot, they're the gamut. So for me, I look at it as I always have. I'm optimistic on the future. I'm not so sure on the timelines because I have been overly optimistic before. I was one who used to say back in when this whole beta program rolled out in, I believe it was 2022, and we were on version 10.2 back then. I do know that. I can't remember the year. I think it was 2022 or 21. And regardless, the software version was 10.2. And I remember that year Elon saying, oh, by the end of next year, we're going to have completely autonomous driving, to where the software was getting better, but there was still lots of small issues. I mean, one key thing back then was it wasn't even doing roundabouts. And so the rate of progress was improving. And I was feeling that, okay, this is probably going to be a reality. Yeah, by the end of next year, sure. But when you look back at the track record of these things, we've been saying that for every year. Do I think that the technology is a lot closer now than we were back then? Absolutely. Unequivocally, yes. But I think there is still things that are needing to be solved, and they're still working through some of the issues. I'm not saying it's never, but I'm saying that it's still coming. I wouldn't use the word soon. I think the word is it's still coming. It's kind of like how Apple is releasing their smarter version of Siri, and it didn't get smart all at once. It's now kind of this almost 18-month process of it's starting off with text. It's going to transition to perhaps generating some images and image playgrounds, and then move into taking on the actual language model of talking to the assistant. I can't wait for the last part because I'm so sick and tired of my current setup where I ask it to turn off a bathroom fan in 15 minutes and it says that I need to schedule things out greater than a minute. 15 minutes, like that's greater than a minute, but 15 of them. So I think things like this are going to go a lot smarter. Now, to the other talking point of, let me call up my notebook here. Is AI the future of jobs? Will it replace us, or will we use it as a tool? Excuse me for a second. I'm going to have a sip of coffee. I have a pretty bold statement with AI, and I've used this with friends. I think AI will save us as a human race. Why do I say this? I think it's because a lot of us stopped thinking for ourselves and we started to outsource our thinking. Whether it be Google it, ask a friend, trust a family member, whatever. But here's the problem with doing that. Those sources, I mean, aside from like the internet, let's be honest, because you can fact check the internet, but your friends have become completely unreliable. The way they talk to you, the way they give you information, it's kind of half of it, but missing part of the key details. And in my view, I like to read a lot, and I like to see the full context of what's going on. And for me, the fastest way that I can ingest that is through a written form. I know everyone has their different methodologies for how they learn, but go with me here. The reason I say AI will save us is because it's capable of meeting the end user at their level, at their cognitive level. So in other words, if you're a very high IQ, it's going to talk to you at a very high IQ level. The vice versa is true. eventually the output from it will be something that is pleasing to you, or something that is your methodology for high input or high bandwidth content ingesting, right? Whether that be through audio, like listening on a podcast, or whether that be through, same thing with audio, having a conversation with it, or being visual. Perhaps you watch a video that it generated for you about how to change a light bulb or change an outlet at your house. And I think you're going to be able to literally show it. Like, hey, here's the issue I have. Help. And I think it can be that simple. I think it's going to be life-changing for many, many people. But I also circle back to the Douglas Adams novel, which is Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Not one of my most favorite books. If I was to pick my favorite book right now, I'd actually say that The Martian by Andy Weir is probably my hands down favorite novel. It's so much fun to read. Sorry, I'm giggling about a few parts in that book. But in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the big catch is when they build that supercomputer and then they ask it, what's the meaning of life? And the supercomputer responds back with the number 42. And remember, this is what I've told people. When people are concerned about the dangers of AI, sometimes that's something that comes up of, oh, what about the bad actors, and what about this, and what about that? I think if you trace this all back, I mean, even Google had people that were against having Google. Oh no, what if they search something? Like, really? Come on, what am I really going to find that's bad? Like, all of it's on the internet, all of it. If you want to go find it, you can go find it. I mean, that is a fraction of a percent of people that actually go and do that and live that way as their daily lives. I personally don't even have the time to do that. So I like to stay optimistic about things. I truly think that when it comes to comparing the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy to humanity, I think humanity sometimes lacks the creativity to actually come up with the prompt. And when we look at AI, it's quality in, quality. It's all about how good your input is to get a quality output. And if all you're doing is asking it very basic things, for instance, like just go to Google Trends. I mean, when you look at Google Trends and you see what's trending on Google for search terms, they're 1 to maybe 2 word questions. Scores of games, sometimes celebrities trend, and just the simple name. But it's not a sentence. It's not even a phrase. It's literally weather, hurricane. I don't know. For me, I like to actually have a full conversation with the AI. And I've had really meaningful conversations with ChatGPT, with Grok, with Gemini. They've been really, really powerful in my life. I know that much. Share in the comments down below. How is AI changing your life, and how are you using it? I think that's a really interesting talking discussion. I know for me, like I said, I use it in various ways. I use it to help me summarize things. I use it to help me create things. I use it to help me brainstorm ideas. I've used it for therapy sometimes. I mean, I'm sure people have used it for these applications. So no, I think AI has tremendous potential, and I think it was a fun topic to go down, and hopefully not too deep for coffee chat in the morning. If you are enjoying these coffee chats, this is my shameless plug at the end of this, be sure to follow, comment, subscribe, do the usual social media pleasantries, please. And we'll see you on the next one. This has been fun. I'm going to now enjoy my coffee and wish you a very good morning.